going to discuss with you some of the signs some therapists don't pick up on when a client goes to see them for help with their relationship issues. I hear quite often from many clients that prior to understanding what was happening to them, they were seeking the help of qualified counsellors, psychologists, therapists, etc., even domestic violence counsellors, and some of them didn't really understand the abuse dynamics a woman or a man may face in a relationship with a narcissist or psychopath abuser. Particularly the mind conditioning, brainwashing and abusive mind games the target or victim is subjected to. It makes me sad that some people pay good money and seek good help for some therapists only to be let down because the therapist themselves hasn't studied and educated themselves fully on the topic of abuse dynamics within abusive relationships of a normally ordered person, you, and a disordered person, your partner, who may be displaying tendencies of psychopathy and narcissism. It makes for a lonely place to be when you jump from one therapist to another, hoping this time this one will identify and know what you are experiencing and going through, and thereby validating your reality and explaining the abuse dynamics you were exposed to from your partner so as to manage and heal your life. Some don't pick up on it and some don't have a clue. Sorry to have to say that. This has been my experience and the experience of hundreds, if not thousands, of other survivors of abuse who have gone to some therapist for help only to be let down and in some cases even victimized and blamed for the abuse they are experiencing in their relationships, as if the target is enabling and causing their partner to abuse them the way that they do. I always say one can study abuse dynamics and try to understand it from an academic point of view, which is great of course. However, when one has lived through and survived abuse dynamics and intensely studied them back to front, then you are empowered to help yourself and others to identify, help and empower the next person you will encounter who too has been exposed to someone harmful who is an abuser. Of course, there are many good therapists out there also, and they are the ones you should look for. A follower of my material wrote in and asked some really interesting questions, very valid questions. I've decided to answer these questions here in this video. Most people find it difficult to understand how an intelligent person, man or woman, could and does get involved with an abuser. People ask, what's wrong with you? Didn't you see they are bad and abusive? Well, here's the deal. Abusers by nature are very cunning and manipulative. When they first meet the target, i.e. the person they want to control and abuse, they put on the charm. They match and mirror and become what the target wants them to be, i.e. their ideal mate. However, over time, the abuser or master manipulator starts showing more and more of who they really are, which is an abuser and master manipulator. This doesn't happen all at once. It happens little by little over time. Little by little, the master manipulator starts changing, shifting back and forth between being a nice and loving person and then being an abusive, harmful person. It can happen moment by moment or over days and even weeks. This makes the target confused. The target doesn't know each day or moment who she or he is dealing with anymore. As the master manipulator shifts from being one character to another character, very chameleon-like, it is often quite disturbing to experience watching the shifts and then being affected by a person displaying this type of behaviour. It's almost like a Jekyll and Hyde type metamorphosis. One person looking like the person you know, but changing inside to reflect someone you don't know or wouldn't even want to know. This causes great anxiety and distrust over time. It causes cognitive dissonance. The Merriam-Webster dictionary describes cognitive dissonance as follows: psychological conflict resulting from simultaneously held incongruous beliefs and attitudes, as for example a fondness for smoking and a belief that it is harmful. So for example, you may love the person you fell in love with, your master manipulator, but then hate or dislike the person they become when they are abusive and manipulative. So in effect, you are in love or having a relationship with a person who has two conflicting aspects to their personality, their good side and their very destructive, abusive side. It is hard for a person who has not been exposed to nor experienced a relationship with someone who is a master manipulator to even grasp what I am presenting here, or what countless other experts in the field of psychopathy have researched and documented. Some people struggle to grasp with these concepts because they are so far-fetched at times that the mind has difficulty understanding how one person can be so nice and loving, perhaps in the public domain, and yet behind closed doors be abusive and harmful to their spouse and children. So to go back to an earlier point that I made, the person who ends up with an abuser or master manipulator can be intelligent and educated, yet still fall under the spell or manipulation of a master manipulator. This isn't your fault. By nature of their disorder, master manipulators are cunning and manipulative. Even the best psychologist in the world could get conned in by these types of people. Master manipulators are clever and very good at what they do. Don't be hard on yourself. Some therapists who don't fully understand how intense the manipulation is between the target and master manipulator sometimes do actually blame inadvertently the target for bringing on themselves their own abuse. It does my head in when I hear this, and I hear it quite often. Our minds are like computers, and even if we consciously know we are good, if over time we hear we aren't good enough, not good enough, not smart enough, not attractive enough, not intelligent enough, you don't do enough, you don't know what you're doing, even though consciously you don't believe it, you know it's a lie, it still sometimes, if not oftentimes, does seep into our subconscious, just like subliminal repetitive information does. For example, when you watch television and you see and hear the most annoying commercial, you know you dislike the commercial, but because you've heard it over and over and over again, you know it back to front and can recall everything the commercial said, the music and the words that went along with it. Well, the same is true when we are hearing day in and day out, you're not good enough, you aren't smart enough, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough. It goes into the subconscious. I mentioned this aspect of conditioning in my ebook and in one of my videos on master manipulators, computers and negative programming. With years and years worth, or even weeks and months worth of negative programming from the master manipulator, it has the potential to totally destroy the target, to reduce them to a former shadow of themselves, to totally destroy any resemblance of what the target was prior to meeting the master manipulator. Sounds extreme and hard to believe? I know, but I also know it's true. I've seen it with my own eyes, and so have many of you out there, otherwise you wouldn't be here now watching this video, searching for answers and validation of your experience right now. Master manipulators are cunning and have an amazing way to use what they know about us and throw it at us when they want to put us down or win points on their abusive opinions of us. This could condition the target to doubt themselves and start to believe the worldview of the master manipulator. I've also sometimes heard that the therapist will in effect put the client down, the target, inadvertently and say something to the effect of, you know he's making it up about you and lying, so why are you buying into it? buying into what he says and believing it. Like, what's wrong with you? Well, what the therapist has failed to understand is that the master manipulator is cunning and, like a sniper, can, with his or her words, repeat it over and over and over again. And when they have sufficiently psychologically terrorized the target and destabilized them through various abuse manipulation tactics, conditioned the target so that they cannot think for themselves or know what's best for themselves anymore, in effect making the target reliant on the master manipulator for validation and reality check of their thoughts and actions. The target doubts themselves and their reality. It's quite sinister, but believe me, this is what happens in most cases, which is why the target has a hard time extracting themselves away from the abuser and master manipulator. The master manipulator is almost like a hypnotist, implanting your reality and your worldview through the eyes of the master manipulator. Most master manipulators do this so that they can control and dominate their target. The target is not allowed to have equal status in the relationship. To do this, the master manipulator must destabilize, sabotage, slowly destroy the target, reducing them to a zombie-like person who no longer questions anything or fights back. This is done over time by the master manipulator, by he or she punishing the target and conditioning the target that if they dare stand up or question for themselves anything against the master manipulator is doing or saying, they will punish the target and rewarding them with care and affection when they don't stand up or question the master manipulator. Over time, the target associates these behaviours and acts accordingly as the master manipulator has programmed them to do so. It's quite insidious. Some master manipulators do this with full awareness of what they are doing, and some don't. But most use the same tactic. The objective of the master manipulator is to make you doubt your reality, and when he or she has done that, they have full control of you. You can't have control of anything unless you control that person's reality. It's a confusing and frustrating cycle, and especially so when the therapist isn't versed in these deep abuse dynamics. Your mind can obsess over and over again, rewinding any negative incident you had with your master manipulator trying to find out what went wrong. He went wrong, I said something wrong, why did this happen? I'm just trying to figure it out again and again. Sometimes there is no sense to why something went wrong other than he or she wanted to dominate and control you, and they did it any way they saw fit. Their first strategy and tactic is to cause pain. Usually this is done psychologically, and in some cases physically and or both psychological. Once they have caused you pain, they then project onto you blame for that pain. They even though they've caused the pain, they are not at fault, of course, or that they've started the incident in the first place. They manipulate their story so well that they can convince you it's all your fault, and only if you change or listen to them more, then they wouldn't have had to have been so abusive and mean to you. It's all your fault. Does that sound familiar? A target could and does get stuck in the cycle of rerunning the incident over and over again in their minds, trying to figure out what went wrong. This is how most people's brains function, and that can be a good thing to sort things out, running things through, trying to problem solve. However, be aware, you are dealing with someone who is disordered, i.e. their brain wiring is not the same as ours, and they are distorting reality to fit their reasons for having to have been abusive and controlling to you. Some suggestions I can offer is to educate yourself through reading some of my suggested reading books found on my website to help you understand some of the concepts I have discussed here today. I also highly recommend working with a therapist who is versed in abuse dynamics. Healing is of utmost importance, but healing can only come from understanding. Unless you fully understand what is happening to you and how to manage it and get out of it, you can stay stuck. Decide today to get unstuck and try something different. I wish you success and healing. Please leave a comment below about what you thought of this video, or if you would like me to cover any future topics. Until the next video, keep safe and remember to be your brilliant best.